Hi, Georgie. How you doing today?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Good to see you. It's been a long old time.
Very long, yeah.
It was
Very,
weird
very
that jump from not seeing someone, you last saw each other in your late teens or 20s, and all of a sudden you're in your 30s. Like, holy shit, time
we
moves.
yeah, we got older.
But yeah, how the hell did that happen? Well, talking of time, the passage of it, and echoes of your younger self to older self, the things you take with you or things maybe you don't. If
Yep.
your 15-year-old self could write you a letter to remind you of a thing you've forgotten about yourself, what would they say?
Mm. Um, I mean, I think because even now, and maybe other people would also feel the same. I think we talk about, everyone talks about anxiety and feeling anxious about lots of things, and
Hmm.
sometimes it's the tiniest things. I think, why am I getting so worked up about something what feels so minor? And I think my 15-year-old self would be like, Georgie, we've got through harder. We've got through worse. Like, this is
Right.
tiny. Remember, like, how brave we are. Because I think I was braver probably back then than I
Hmm.
am. But not about big stuff. Like, I like to do lots of big scary experiences, but it's the
Hmm.
small day stuff. I think my 15-year-old self would have been braver than I
Hmm.
am. So she'd probably be like, George, be braver. We were brave at 15. You can do these
Sure.
things. You can
Yeah.
make the
Yeah.
phone calls.
Don't sweat it, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, I think
Well, sometimes,
probably
like you say, it is the smaller things, strangely,
yeah.
that can trip you up or just, present more of an obstacle, even though they shouldn't do. I don't know.
Absolutely. And maybe it's procrastinating, maybe it's kind of an excuse for that. I don't know, but I think a lot of people would well, I hope would agree that they feel kind of the same.
Well,
But
part of it, to speculate philosophically for a bit, part of it perhaps is with age, you get more wisdom, so you know the bigger things aren't so much of a big deal, so you can make those jumps easier. But if you run
exactly.
out of energy on a more macro level, the smaller things can trip you up because when you're younger, you just
Yeah.
powered through them. But whereas the
Yeah.
bigger things might have daunted you more because you just know less when you're 15.
Yeah. Totally. I think I think you are like kind of hit the nail on the head there. I think when you're younger, you do those big things kind of seem almost out of grasp. Like, oh, I'm not
Yeah.
old enough for those. I can't
Mm.
do. Whereas the small things, you just kind of, well, it's easy, because I'm
Yeah.
50 now, so I can do those things. But when you're older, you kind of think the big ones. You're like, well, I'm old enough. I'm more financially independent.
Yeah.
I'm a grown up. Well, sort.
Yeah.
I'm sort of a grown up. I can do those big things, but the little things, it's like should be easy, but I put it all off and procrastinate.
Well, also you're generally more. Well, part of it again is just you've got a bank of experience, so you've proved things through experience, so you just
Yeah,
you just know more. But also
yeah,
perhaps you're more weighed down by the overall responsibilities you have, so the small things can seem like obstacles. You're like, I'm so
yeah,
fucking tired. I can't be
yeah,
fucked to do the washing up or admin or work out a budget or the laundry or whatever else it might be. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. Exactly. It's so true. I think. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that would be. I don't know, because I've ended up in a place I never thought I would in life. I think I thought at 15 I would have thought in my mid 30s I'd be married, I'd have kids, I'd probably have some big career. So I
Mm,
don't even 15-year-old self would look at where I am now and believe that this is where I will, I would end
mm,
up. So
mm.
yeah, I don't know. I've gone a complete different direction to where I thought. I'm not. That's not a bad thing. I'm happy where I am. But
Sure.
yeah, so
It
maybe
is funny, yeah. It's funny where you end up, isn't it? Again, with me, I thought probably at that age that certain things would be more firm and more set in place by
yeah,
now, and they're not. But also knowing myself, maybe this applies to you as well. Knowing myself, even at 15,
yeah,
I could have predicted my route would have been unpredictable and also
yeah,
not necessarily conventional. So in some
yeah,
ways, I wouldn't really be surprised where I am now. Do you think that applies to you as well?
yeah. I probably so. I think I thought I would go the conventional route because that's what everybody else did. But in
Mm,
reality, I've never done anything conventionally.
yeah.
In my life, so it
Mm,
makes sense that we haven't kind of done the conventional thing, but I guess because everybody else was doing it, I just thought, oh well, I guess I'm supposed to do that. But actually, you know, we don't have to do anything that other people are doing.
Well, that's also something you probably learn with age more. When you're younger, you might think, oh, I better maybe have the will to be original, but also not necessarily the gumption or, again, wisdom. The more you get to know yourself over time, you're actually like, well, this is who I am. This is my lane. So you get used to it. You know yourself more, you know?
Yeah, agree. We kind of, I mean, I don't know if it's the same for you. In my 30s, I care less about what people think. And I think, you know, maybe there's courage in that. Maybe it's, you know, I don't know. Maybe it is just, like you say, the wisdom of just being like, well, I'm going to do whatever I want.
Again, part of his experience, I think, just the more you do things, live with yourself and live with the consequences of that, which can be some pushback or confusion from others.
Yeah.
You simply get used to shrugging it off more. You're like, well, just fuck it. You know, that's not going to stop whatever the reaction is. So I will just do it anyway.
You do it anyway. Yeah.
Well, talking of life paths, roots, was it a calling for you to become an air hostess? I mean, is air hostess all right, or do you prefer cabin crew member?
I personally prefer to be known as a sky goddess.
All right.
But no, flight attendant, air hostess, cabin crew. I genuinely, somebody could call me a trolley dolly. I don't find it offensive. You know,
okay.
Some might, but yeah, I really don't mind. Any is fine. But yeah, I mean, our job title is cabin crew now, just because it encompasses kind of everybody, and it's known internationally. Everybody kind of understands. Every country I've been to understands the term cabin crew or flight attendant. Yeah, so anything like that. It was not a calling. Do you know what? I'd never even thought of it. I'd never looked at it and gone, I'd love to do that job. I mean, I didn't get on a plane for the first time until I was maybe 12 or 13, and my grandparents were living abroad, so mum took me away to go and see them. And even then, I didn't even, weirdly, it didn't even sit in my mind that it was a job that I could ever even apply for. I don't know. You know, I'd moved abroad for 2 years after uni just to live in the sun and as a holiday rep, and I was working in a hotel, and I loved the lifestyle of being abroad. I loved being in the sun. I'm definitely a sun baby rather than a winter baby. Snow is lovely, but I'm not into like winter sports and stuff, so I'm not really fast. But being in the sun all the time, I just loved it. And then I came back, and it was over the winter, and we all know how miserable it is. Yeah. Working in a hospital, just in HR to get some admin experience. And I was talking about how miserable I was. I wanted to go back to the sun.
Well, to everyone listen. At a bus stop, listen, I'm fucking miserable.
You're fucking miserable. But I was like,
someone help.
Greece. And they're like, oh, Greece, amazing. I was like, I've been eating, you know, a Mediterranean diet, like, you know, and it was the first real kind of time I'd been abroad as well, because I didn't really, we did holidays in the UK, or we'd get the ferry to France when I was a kid, other than that big one to visit my grandparents.
Sure.
You know, barely been on a plane before I went and moved to Greece. And, you know, it was amazing. I was like, it kind of unlocked this part of my personality that was like, holy shit, I love travel. I want to be away. I want to be all the time. And I was sat there and I was like, oh, the UK is a bit miserable. And don't get me wrong, I love, you know, lots of things in the UK. And I do like living here as a base. I like being here. But I just, it was like, I'm miserable. I want to go back to the sun. And I sat next to this Australian lady, and she was so nice. And, you know, she just said, well, you know, my housemate, he's cabin crew and he loves it. He's always traveling the world. And, you know, she sold me this dream of what he was doing, how much he loved it. And so I just sat, I went online quickly, had a look, and, you know, one particular airline was recruiting, and I just went, oh fuck it, I'll just do this for 2 years. I'll just, I'll apply and see what happens. And then weeks later, I went up and had an assessment day, and then 11 years later, here I am, still doing it. It was only meant to be. It was only meant to be like a gap filler, just until I figured out what to do, and
Sure, I mean, I don't know. It can be a funny thing because almost the idea with calling is it can almost be beyond your instincts, as in it is the calling. You just didn't know it was.
Yeah, for sure. But in hindsight, maybe it was. It was my, I suddenly found this love for travel, and then the job kind of came in after that, and actually it was where I guess I was meant to.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, carry on. I mean, I was just thinking as well, like, I had the thought of when we were at uni together.
Yeah.
I said to you earlier that I thought that, to my eyes, it seemed like you directly went into this. Obviously you didn't. But when you did, and obviously you've been in it now for a while, to me it made perfect sense because you were such an outgoing person then. There's like an exuberance about you. I thought, that makes perfect sense for Georgie. And obviously you've been doing it for a while now. So it's just like a funny thing of, I don't know, again, with time, you see people, and because we're one of the first, well, pretty much the first generation to grow up and then meet social media and then have it incorporated.
Yeah.
We've probably some of the first people to see peers, schoolmates, colleagues through time. Yeah. And some people's lives you see and think, that doesn't make so much sense. That's not where I thought I'd see that person going. But for you, it's always made perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, of course you would go and do that. In some strange way. Like I say, I don't know, there's a worldliness to you or a outgoing exuberance or a lust for life I saw in you that translates perfectly to being Sky Goddess, Air Hostess, cabin crew, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I don't know, it always made sense to me, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I guess I've ended up where kind of I thought I would,
Sure, but obviously it makes sense to you enough because you kept doing it.
Yeah, it did. But it's like the same with you. Like, I could never see you sitting down doing an office job. You're so creative. Like, I just couldn't see it.
Well, yeah, and if you saw me, I don't know, like doing Instagram stories of like, here at the office, here's my lunch of ham sandwiches again, #loving life, you'd be like, there's something's up with this guy. He's either being taken hostage and he's saying this against his will, or he's had his lobotomy or something like that, because that is not the guy I recognise.
Because that's what you do, is, I never see. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. It's just, and it's good to see people, obviously it's an overused phrase, and I don't really, living their best life. Seeing people live the life that feels like it makes sense is like a heartwarming thing, I think.
100%. And there have been people over the years from uni who have kind of me sometimes out of the blue, and they've said, God, Georgie, I love seeing what you're doing. You look like you're having an amazing time. And, you and I obviously spoke about it earlier, kind of not going down the conventional route. And some of them have. And, and they say, I'm so jealous. And I'm like, and I think to myself, as long as, and I'm like, I get it. And I understand the jealousy. Also, I sometimes feel jealous of those people. And I'll say it. They, glad you reached out. Like, everybody, I hope people feel they can reach out and they want to. But, one person in particular, and she got married and she's had 2 kids, and, I don't know what she does for work, but she messaged me and was like, I'm so jealous. And I was like, but I also feel jealous of your life. You did what I thought I was going to do. And, like you. And I said to her, I think the most important thing, are you happy? And she was like, yeah, I am actually. I love my kids. I love my husband. I am happy. And I was like, that at the end of the day is the most important thing.
Yeah, that's the measure.
And it looks like I'm living my best life. And I am. Obviously, I do try to make the most of it, all of the experiences. But sometimes I'm a bit like, I look at people who have got the things I don't have. And I'm like,
of course.
They're living their best life in my eyes. I think it just looks different for everybody.
I don't know. Again, with us growing up,
the
first generation to experience the introduction of social media and therefore the massive exposure to everyone's life, and the dark side of it being comparison is, and then also being sold a lot of self-help mantra type stuff about having it all, it's important to realize you can't have it all. And, you know,
100%.
there's a powerful acceptance in that, because then you, in an ideal world, let go of any stupid envy. You know, some outside looking in, someone else's life is justified because it's like, well, I wish I had X and they wish they had the Y that I have.
Yeah.
But I think there's like, you know, we were talking before about getting to know yourself and who you really are. I think there's a real power to that. And then, I don't know, just letting go of that green-eyed monster, you know?
Yeah. What is it? They say comparison is the thief of joy.
Exactly. Yeah.
I totally, you know, agree with you. Like we didn't have so much access to everybody's lives, you know, when we were younger, and even through uni, we were kind of just enjoying it in the moment as it was. And you know, I think we definitely were lucky with that. I think it would have been harder had we kind of gone through that experience with the way that, you know, social media is now and tech and stuff. So,
well, in your job, what's the craziest scene that sticks in your mind that you've seen?
There's a few. I mean, it's every single day is completely different. Every flight is different. Every you know, passenger profile is different depending where you're going. I mean, it's tough, and flying is definitely a lot different post-COVID than it was pre-COVID. You know, I mean, I did mixed flying. Now I just do long haul only, but pre-COVID I was doing mixed, so I would do short haul and long haul flying. So I would do kind of a there and back, you know, fly to Edinburgh and back, fly to, you know, Alicante and then back and stuff like that. And, you know, it was kind of every day was sort of, it was flying before COVID was a lot easier. Like it's definitely got harder since. And I think it's just people's attitudes have changed, and there's a lot more anger, and I'm smiling as I say it, I'm like laughing, but people are more angry.
You mean less patient as well?
Yeah, I think so. And I think people's expectations of what can actually be delivered, you know, at 38,000 feet in the air is different, and that's fine. I understand, but a lot of the crazy stuff I've seen is mainly aggression, like it's levels of aggression and people getting angry about stuff, or like
running into the Hulk on the plane, literally,
or like alcohol abuse. You know, I think watching one of my colleagues being, you know, rugby tackled by a passenger was possibly not a highlight. He's completely fine. He was okay. He was unharmed.
Sure.
But I think one of the moments where I kind of was like, oh my God, but I was trying not to laugh at the same time. Yeah. And we had American passengers on the flight, and they were kind of like, whoa, that guy's on there. And we were just like, I don't know if he is, you know, obviously we don't know. And we'd managed to do like a whole 8-hour flight, and his behavior was quite erratic, but the crew had done a really good job of keeping him kind of de-escalated. And it wasn't until we landed that he suddenly just lost it. And he was pushing people and rugby tackling. And I think sometimes that you're like, whoa, that is, you know, a bit crazy. But then I had another one years ago, and we diverted for a medical incident. And I remember we were dealing with the medical incident, and there was myself and 2 other crew members, and it was quite a serious one. And, you know, but you go into focus mode and you just deal with it. And, you know, and you're in the middle of this medical incident, and there was a tap on the shoulder of my colleague, and she kind of turned around and looked, and she's like, yeah, is everything okay? Like, you can see we're just in the middle of this medical incident, like quite a serious one. You know, we've got our medical kit out, we've got oxygen bottles everywhere, we've got a passenger on the floor. You know, we're dealing with something quite serious. And the passenger kind of looks at her and goes, well, yeah, I've been waiting ages for a Diet Coke. You know, am I get that? And, you know, and my face is like,
how about me?
Yeah, I'm like, sorry, can you not see what we're doing right now? Can you not? Have you completely just skipped over what's happening, and I don't know if it's like a stress response, or if it's just a kind of lack of awareness, or just a selfish. I don't know.
I think people probably become more selfish on flights because you're in this weird tin can.
Yeah.
You sort of go into your own vortex of entertainment, or if you're freaked out by it, then alcohol, drugs, whatever, to get yourself through it. So I think it does become much more about your own individual needs, I think.
I think
that's kind of the place she was in. It's like, okay, this is my flight, this is my endurance test mission, whatever the hell is in her head. I need Coke now. I
need it now. And we were just like, what? And my colleague handled it amazingly. She was so professional. And I was the one that was there like, what the fuck? Like, am I... Is this... You know when you feel like you're in a Black Mirror episode and you're just like, what is happening? What?
Yeah, too absurd for belief, basically.
Yeah, and I don't understand.
People are strange. But also, I'd imagine generally, well, as you've been, depicting, conveying, is that, people are strange, but probably made stranger in that kind of context, up high, long haul flights, especially with diversions as well. I just think, in my experience, it kind of can do strange things to people who are strange anyway. I don't know.
I think it's almost like a stress response. People kind of almost lose touch with the reality that's actually in front of them. And like you were saying, they just are so wrapped up in their own kind of head and their own story of what's going on. They almost forget, like there's actually a world around me and it's quite intense. There's something going on that's quite intense. So my diet is going to drop down the priority list.
Yeah.
And our priority is just keeping this person alive right now. Your Diet Coke is going to have to wait, I'm afraid.
Well, that's part of it too, is that's someone responding to the cabin crew, which leads to the next question is, do people assume you're dumb as a hostess, as a member of the cabin crew? And if so, have you got a favourite moment proving someone wrong?
I mean, yes, people do assume we're dumb all the time. I don't know if I've got a favourite moment of proving somebody wrong, but I think the way that I try to, the way I guess I try to explain it and remind people is when they say, we get a lot of comments of, well, you're essentially just, a waitress, or you're just, serving chicken or beef in the sky and whatever. And sometimes you have to remind people, like, we go through 240 hours of training, and we're trained in, medical, and it's some advanced medical situation. So like if somebody goes into labor early, on the, who do you think is going to deliver that baby if there's no medical professionals? Like that's us. Sure. We're trained, in a certain way to deliver a baby. I mean, God help me, I hope that never happens.
But this image of like someone, making a comment about you being dumb, and then you help them give birth and hold up the baby, show it to the passenger, and call you dumb, and like, how about now, bitch?
How about now? Exactly. Or like, like if
can you do that? No.
Exactly.
Right, like carry on.
Things like that, and I'm just like, it's a good day if you're on a plane and you don't have to watch the cabin crew do what they're actually trained to do, like that's a good day for you as a passenger.
Sure. Yeah, I get it.
And trying to explain to people and say, if you're not looking at me doing my actual training, you're having a really good day. So what you might see is the bare minimum, which is obviously the service side of things. That's a really good day for you because it means that you're going to arrive in your destination safely and you've not had to see us do what we're actually trained for, which is, we're trained to evacuate nearly 300. The plane I work on holds 332 passengers.
Wow.
And, there's 10 cabin crew and we're trying to evacuate all 332 of you in 90 seconds or less. So, and if there's a fire, we're the ones that then fight that fire to keep the plane safely in the air and not kind of plummeting down to earth. Well,
it's like the idea of like when things are going well, the important parts of whatever the system is are invisible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you'd only know if there's a crisis, and then things come to the fore, basically.
And sometimes I've had flights where we have had crisis. You know, I had a flight recently where we actually had multiple, what we would call a disruptive passenger, which involved, you know, a lot. And I was working in a different cabin to where, you know, it was all kicking off. And the captain, and I was, you know, looking after my passengers, but I was aware of what was going on elsewhere. But I also, you know, understood that I had to kind of keep going, and I would only go and help if they needed my help, an extra pair of hands. And the captain, when we landed, did an announcement, and he said, you know, for those who may have noticed, there was, you know, quite serious situations going on in one of the cabin.
I'm sure you noticed.
Yeah, like, I'm sure you saw what was happening, and I hope, you know, you can appreciate the amount of work the cabin crew did. And my passengers that I'd been looking after in my cabin were like, wait, what? We didn't notice anything. And I was like, that's because I did such a good job at keeping it from you. And I was like, and they were getting off talking about how they'd had an amazing flight and they didn't notice any of this disruption that was going on. And I was like, but that is part of our job as well. Like, we're like, it's that when people talk about, you know, ducks on water and stuff, and also on the top, they're so graceful, they glide and it's beautiful, and under feet are fucking like going to like move. That's what we're like a lot of the time.
Well, every job's got its smoke and mirrors as well.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, they're totally clueless, but you're firefighting, you know, as much as you can to keep the peace.
From my brow, trying to together, and nobody notices.
Well, it must be satisfying for you as well, almost like the quiet pride of knowing you nailed it, and they'll never know, probably, or appreciate it, but you know what it takes. There's pride in you, in your job, and the job well done as well.
100%, I do. And you know, you get off flights and you'll be like, my God, I worked hard. Like, I've here this evening, and you kind of think, and then, you know, it'll be like a couple of weeks later, you might get, you know, the customer compliments, they get sent to us. So when you write in a compliment about your cabin crew, they get forwarded through the system, and then we get a copy of it, and it's put on our file, and, you know, and you'll get that email and you'll be like, I remember that flight. It was so tough. But just having somebody say, you know, Georgie was amazing, you know, professional, and they'll say really nice things, and you go, okay, that's why I do it. That's why I carry on doing this job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You're not superhuman, are you? You need some kind of human feedback. Because you're dealing with humans. I don't know. Again, like, people not seeing you as a human necessarily, not, you know, beyond dumb, even just seeing you as furniture or something. It's like, well, you're just there, give me the stuff or whatever, and then sod off. You know, it's important to, get the feedback from other humans, knowing that they see you as a human.
Exactly.
Doing a difficult job, you know, it's all grist for the mill. Everyone needs that in whatever job you're doing. Especially
we all deserve recognition for the stuff that we do well, you know. So it's nice when you get it.
Yeah. Well, talking of the job, what are the pros and cons?
There's a lot of pros, and there are a lot, and it's tough weighing it up because. I get to travel. I mean, you know, last week I was in Trinidad, and it ended up being Carnival while I was there. And Trinidad Carnival is the biggest carnival in the Caribbean, and it, you know, it was incredible. I loved it. It was just a fluke that I was there on a work trip. And then a few weeks ago I was in Costa Rica, and you know, like, I'm going to St. Lucia at the end of the week, and I get to travel, and I've been to some places in the years. Like, I've been to the Maldives like 4 times minimum. Wow. And I would never be able to. I've been to Bermuda, and again, that's somewhere I would never think of a holiday. And I've been so many times, and, you know, done so much. It's amazing. You know, I've been to like Peru, and I'd never thought I would. So the travel is the biggest pro, is, you know, 100% the biggest pro, as, you know, you'd probably expect. All of these things I've done and the places I've been that even financially, I don't think I would ever be able to go if I didn't do this job. Because it's, you know, travel is amazing, and we're so privileged to be able to do it, and that it's accessible, but it is still expensive. And,
of course,
you know, and even time, like, not everybody has annual leave in the year to go to Bermuda 17 times in a year. So, like,
if you did, eyebrows would be raised. Where's he getting the fucking money from?
Wait a minute, that's a So, that's the biggest pro. I think also the people, you fly with different crew all the time. And I work in a smaller base. And so there's only, there's less than 2,000 of us at my base, I think. And I fly with a lot of the same people and I know a lot of them. You're constantly flying with different people. And some of my closest friends now are people that I've met flying, and they're just, you meet all sorts of people. And what's great is that you could, and I was talking about this with a girl recently, I haven't flown with her or seen her in sort of 3 years, but then I'll see her and we'll do a trip and we'll be like, oh my God, we can have the best catch up. And it's like the 3 years has not even passed, and we're catching up and talking about our lives, and it's great. And crew are definitely one of the big pros of the job, because if you hate somebody, you barely fly with them as well. So even on the flip side, but also like one of the big cons of the job is you're away from home a lot and you miss a lot. Like I've missed the amount of birthdays, Christmases, my friends getting married, hen dos, baby showers. I miss a lot of, my friends going through stuff and me not being able to be there. Like I've missed loads. I've spent, even my own birthday, sometimes I've spent on a plane or doing something in a really rubbish place I don't want to be, or alone in a hotel room.
That's like being Sky Goddess, surely, as you are literally groundless sometimes and rootless. Yeah. It can feel that way, I imagine. Yeah.
And you miss out on a lot. And I think, I remember when my my longest term relationship ended, it's really tough to kind of get time off work for stuff like that. So I had to go to work, and I was obviously really upset. My boyfriend had broken up with me, and I was gutted, and because I didn't see it coming, I didn't expect it. It really threw me off, and I had to go to work. And it was actually, and that was a con, was that I couldn't just be at home and deal with it in my own way. But then a pro of the job being the crew was that I went on this trip, and the crew just really looked after me, and they get you through some really tough times, when you have to go to work with it, and everybody really
oh, this cough, sorry.
Okay. Oh, bless you. You need like a hot toddy. You need some whiskey, water, and lemon.
Yeah, it's a succession of Irish whiskies. Get a long way from. Same again. I'm about to get Lozenger in a second. Anyway, sorry, carry on. The crew, the solidarity of the crew at that time was really important to you.
Amazing. And that's one of the pros of the job, is the crew. But yeah, cons, I mean, you miss a lot. The jet lag is a huge con. The kind of shit. So we fly overnight. Are you okay?
Yeah, let me just tell you. You carry on talking. I'll get a Lozenger.
You have the sleepless nights, and because you're on a time difference, you're losing all of these hours, and you're essentially time traveling, and you're knackered, so tired, and morning, stay awake, and the only thing you can do is eat.
Of course. Well, talking of the positive, swinging back that way, what's the single most magical place and time you've experienced in your job?
In my job?
As in the perks of traveling, say.
Yeah.
Could be a sunset, could be a sunrise, could be a beautiful bar, could be a moment with that fella you were talking about. Maybe you don't want to go there. But, it could be a romantic kind of situation with someone, an incredible spot. Take it away. Which one comes to mind, or which are some of the ones that come to mind?
I don't know. I mean, I was lucky with my ex, because he was in the job, he was in the industry, and so we got to fly together. We could request certain trips, we could bid for our rosters, and we would get like 2 or 3 trips a month together. And so we had loads of experiences of, watching beautiful sunsets together, and like, as crew, we all laugh that we've seen all of these gorgeous sunsets all around the world, and they're all beautiful. This is so hard to like pinpoint, because it's always, And I don't know if that's just because I try not to take it for granted. Because, I mean, the most magical place I've been was not actually with work. It was, I did I trekked to Everest Base Camp. And,
Wow.
I mean, the side of Mount Everest is the most magical place I've ever been. It's unreal, because it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. And maybe that's why it was magical, because, okay, I'm going to sound like such a prick now, because I've seen loads of beaches. I've seen loads of sunsets on beaches. You know, I've been to the Maldives and I've seen the beautiful clear water. Like, it's absolutely gorgeous. But because I've seen it all so many times.
Balls now. Give me the new shit.
I kind of.
It's true though, you know, you've fucking seen it all multiple times, so you need to see something new. And Everest is pretty different to all of that.
Yeah, like the being on the mountain with snow was different for me. So yeah, I know I sound like such a prick. I'm like, just another beach and, you know, gorgeous clear water. Like, I'm so bored. I'm not. I love it. I do love it. But
so, you know, with anything, repetition, you know, dulls the shine of anything. Basically, even the most magical place on earth. You know,
and it's funny because we all laugh about it as well as crew, and I appreciate that people who are not crew probably don't find it funny. That we'll be like, I'm going to St. Lucia again. It's so boring. And people are like, oh, cry me a river, you're going to St. Lucia again. Like, no, I do. I get how it sounds. I do. I totally get it.
Yeah, cry me a river of fucking mojitos by that fucking sunrise, exactly. Don't you?
I know. Awful. I know.
Well, I don't know. Any job you're in distorts. I don't know. Like, say with stand-up.
Yeah.
You know, people say, how the fuck can you do that? Or you must get such a buzz or performance or whatever. And it's like, I do. But the more you do it, it becomes functional or normal because it's the environment you're used to. It's like, well, this is it. This is, you know, this is what I do.
Yeah.
So to me, there's always a touch of magic because never entirely goes. If it does go entirely, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, the shine, the magic of it does lessen a bit because it's just the thing you do.
Yeah, of course. And like for you, I mean, when you're writing stand-up and stuff, the jokes must be, you're like, this shit is funny. You're like, this is fun. But then once you've performed it so many times, you kind of find that, you know, it's still funny. It's as funny as it was. But because you've said it so many times and you're kind of like, you know, I'm ready for new material now. I'm ready for, I don't know, maybe, you know.
No, definitely. And I hate being bored and I hate boring myself. So if I do start to bore myself with, in any way, could be the small things like we're saying at the top or some of the bigger things, like say with doing a sketch or stand-up or whatever it is, I just have to reinvent myself or come up with a new idea or go in some new direction to make you feel fresh again. I mean, I don't know, even with you, part of the motive perhaps behind Kilimanjaro or Everest may have been, I imagine, and the reason why you're hostess to begin with is to always seek the new.
Yeah.
You know, always new horizons. And again, when I said to me, you being a hostess makes sense because you always seem to have such a zest for life, kind of like I do, but in a different way, is you get restless. You do need new things.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, inspiration, the magic.
It is. It's new, and it's the kind of, you know, uncharted territories for me, you know, and like say for you as well. Like once you get to that, like, right, I want to do something new, you know.
Yeah, whatever form it takes. I mean, I was trying to think of a fun segue for this next one, then I saw the question.
Yeah. If it doesn't have
it's hard.
Yeah.
Although saying it's hard is kind of a segue onto itself. Have you caught people in the act of joining that oh so exclusive Mile High Club?
So I've never caught anyone in the act, but I've caught people as they're attempting to go. I think, you know, it's actually a lot harder than I think people realise because the crew are always there. We are always around and we are all seeing and there's always, we notice all of these things. If two people go in toilet together, like we notice because the toilets are always placed in very visible areas and the aircraft type I fly on. I only fly on one aircraft type, and all the toilets are very much visible for us as crew. So if we see two people going in, you can kind of get in before the door closes. Oh, excuse me. No, not on our flight.
Yeah, I see that erection. Put it away, son.
Yeah, I see
Back to your fucking seat.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would go in disguise if it was me. I'd go really heavy disguise, I think.
Yeah.
So be like, look at that old lady going to the loo. Oh, that's, and they just ignore me. Then, the girl comes up 5 minutes later and then battle commences. I don't know.
And I'm sure that it has happened on my flights. And in all honesty, I kind of, it's not technically like allowed, because the problem is, from a safety perspective, like you've got to think about things like how many oxygen masks are in the toilet. If we have a decompression and suddenly you've got to put an oxygen mask, you've got to do it in like seconds. And if you haven't, you're losing consciousness, and that's it. You're gone. Yeah. And so from that perspective, obviously we sadly have to think of it. I mean, it's rare, but it can happen. But also hygienic. I mean, I've seen plane toilets in the worst state ever. Like, I've seen it with shit smeared on walls and like the mirrors, and like they get messy. And people, I don't know if people think they get like really deep cleaned between every flight. Like, it's quick. That turnaround is quick to get those planes back out to the next destination. So if you're putting a naked ass against the wall, like you're catching something, and it might not be from your partner. It's
I don't know, just go in hazmat suits maybe.
With just a sort of cutout bit to kind of get.
Or just wait, or try to do it on the seats. I guess maybe. I guess you're still in the Mile High Club if you're on the seats. It hasn't got to be exclusively in a toilet. As long as you're high.
Exactly. And people probably have on the seats, or at least some sort of act on the seats. I'm sure.
Some kind of act.
Yeah.
Methinks an act is happening.
And this is Act 1. Act 1, Scene 1.
Get ready for the show.
But like, I'm sure they have. But I've never kind of had to deal with it personally. But to be honest, I kind of think, listen, if you can get away with it, like, fine.
Sure.
I've got more important things to deal with. I mean, if I saw it, I would have to obviously intervene and stop it.
Or give advice maybe.
And like, I've had it where like people were kind of getting very touchy-feely, but everything was about clothes and stuff like that. And I did kind of go down, and I had to remind them that there are children sat across the aisle.
Well, yeah, that's important.
Obviously, then you're looking at dangerous territory of you're now exposing children to pornographic material with the law.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I'd make sure only adults are around.
Adults,
obviously.
like it should, this is X-rated. It's, it's an 18, plus. Yeah. But you have to then you're treading really dangerous territory, because you're like, look, if we report this, you are exposing children to pornographic material, and that is much illegal. And you could actually then become, if this went further, you could then become a registered sex offender. And do you really? And you're kind of like, look, let's think about what's more important.
Don't want to be a spoil sport, but is this hand job worth it?
Is this really worth kind of, taking it further? So you kind of have to gently remind people of, yes, I get it. There's this kink behind it, but equally, like, there are children around you. Please, let's not do this. Like, it's not appropriate. So sorry, that's quite heavy, but it is kind of,
I get it.
I think I guess it comes back to us saying about people flying. They're so wrapped up in their own heads, they forget that actually you're still on an aeroplane, and there are certain laws that still apply, and you can be arrested on landing for breaking laws, And I think people forget that.
We're talking of how to travel well. Give me some top travel tips.
So first one would be...
Don't do that.
Don't expose children to things.
Yeah.
My top tip: always carry a pen when you travel internationally. The
Okay.
amount of people that ask me for a pen because they need to fill out like documentation for landing and stuff like, why do you not have a pen?
Right.
A pen. Just take a pen. I think reading rules as well around, the country that you're going to, like
Sure.
each country has its own, entry requirements, and a lot of people don't check it, and then they kind of get like, well, I don't understand. What do you mean? I needed to have this certain visa, or what do you mean my passport needed to have a certain amount of validity, or what do you mean I can't take my raw chicken into the country? And you're like, oh god, like it's all online, it's so easy to find. And I'm like, so carry a pen, like check online entry requirements and like food that you can and can't take in.
To pivot to the other lane of what you do, another lane.
Yeah.
What, given your dating blog, what are the main mistakes both men and women make in dating these days, do you think?
Do you know what? I think the biggest thing, and this isn't just from my experience, this is talking to other people, even people in relationships. I don't understand where, and maybe this goes back to us talking about, we're a generation that kind of saw the introduction of social media and everything with tech and stuff that kind of, our communication as human beings, our level of communication is so sometimes shocking that we don't do it very well. And that's
definitely.
I was laughing about this because my friends, most of my friends are married, and they'll say, oh, I'm really annoyed with so and so, my husband, my boyfriend, whatever, and I'll be like, oh, okay, have you told him? Well, no, I haven't. Okay. And I'm like, you haven't told him that you're annoyed with him, so how is he going to know that you're annoyed with him?
Yeah.
Well, he'll just know. Okay, but how? He can't read your mind. Like, he doesn't know. And like the same way that I find men, actually the example I used was, so every man, and obviously I'm talking, because I'm heterosexual, I'm talking about heterosexual relationships. That's my experience. Every heterosexual man that I know will understand it when I say, when you ask a woman how she is and she tells you she's fine, you're going to take that at face value and go, well, she told me she's fine, so she's fine.
Yeah, those are the words. That is the meaning. Yeah.
Exactly. Those are the words she said, so she means she's fine. Secretly, a lot of women will say, yeah, I'm fine. But they want you to pick up on the hidden meaning that actually
the pyramid nuance that's underneath those words.
Is that I'm not fine, and I want you to pick. But I always say to my friends, if you tell him you're fine, he will believe you that you are fine. He will not dig deeper because he doesn't read between the lines, because you haven't communicated it. And I say the exact same feels like, it seems to be, heterosexual men, not all, obviously, I'm only talking about some, have a habit at the moment in dating, I'm finding, of saying, I really like you to somebody. We as heterosexual women have not yet learned to read between the lines and learn that doesn't always mean that they really like you, even though those are the words that they're using. And I'm just, because, I've had it before where guys have been like, I really like you. And I'll be like, oh, okay, well, he really likes me, so maybe that means he wants to go on more dates with me. But then he'll go to me and I'll be like, oh, so he didn't really like me. Oh, but he told me he did, and I took that at face value. So I guess, it's my fault, really, for believing it.
Are you saying, I'm just speculating that maybe men have been influenced by women to a degree, because that's men communicating more classically how heterosexual women would act, kind of?
Yeah, and I do. I think it's kind of got to a point. Also, I think some people, maybe some men, have learned that if they say these nice things, they get kind of on. Because they've learned that that's what women like to hear. We like to hear that you really like. And maybe, so I don't think a lot of them, when they say it, mean it in like a really dark way. I think they just mean it in a, And in that moment, they probably do think, I do really like you. You're really cool, and I'm really enjoying spending time with you. You know, but I don't think they appreciate the level of depth that we sometimes take it.
But also men and women, but say men in this instance, aren't always good at no drama. Aren't always good at articulating what they actually fucking mean. So
I agree.
They can have a generalized feeling for women too, but generalized feeling with men of like, this girl's cool. I feel good about this girl. What should I fucking say? And then what comes out is like, I really like you, or even I love you sometimes, or whatever random stuff might come out to them. They can really butcher it, which can then obviously mislead women. And then the men are even aware, maybe even as they're saying it, this is not what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But it can still
come out wrong. Say something else. And I agree with you. I think they're saying it in the moment because it feels, and it might in that moment feel right, you know, and you just don't know. But I think both sides, and I'm not pinpointing it one or the other. I think we are both. We're all we've got to a point where we're all just as bad as each other. And like one of the things that I found worked, you know, I'm sorry, I will talk about my ex, you know, a bit, but he's a good man. We're not together now, but my dating experience with him was, I mean, he's an idiot, you know, and we're not together, but there was no kind of malice or anything. But one thing he did really well was there were times where if I was having a bad day or I was feeling upset about something, he would be like, how was your day? And I would never, ever say to him, I'm fine. I would never lie. I would just say, actually, like, I've had a pretty rough day. And he did this really, really lovely thing of, he would say to me, okay, George, do you want to sit down and just vent it to me? Or do you want to talk about it and you want me to help find a solution for you? Or like, you know, because sometimes, you know, I know me personally, sometimes I don't want a solution. Sometimes, and I know my friends are probably quite similar. Sometimes we don't want to vent it and then a guy find a solution. We just want to vent it just to get it off our chest. And sometimes we want you to say, oh my God, yeah, that sounds really shit. And that's it. We don't need it to be solved because, you know, we just want to get it off our chest. And he used to do this thing where he would say, do you need a solution for it? Like, and we can sit and problem solve it, find a solution, or do you just want to sit and vent? And I'll be like, actually, this thing, I think I just want to vent it. And he would sit and listen. He'll be like, I'll get a bottle of wine out and we can sit and vent it. And I'd be like, I love that. That's great. Thank you. And sometimes, you know, but sometimes it would be like, actually, I think this is a problem solving one. Like, and he'd be like, okay, cool. I'll still get the bottle of wine.
Get the bottle of wine and a pen and paper.
He'd be like, I'll still get the bottle of wine. I'll listen. And, you know, he'd actively listen and then he would be his problem solving self. And I think sometimes it's that lack of communication. If your partner says, how was your day? And you say, yeah, it was okay. They're going to take that at face value. If you say, actually, it was quite shit, I want to talk about it. They're going to go, oh my God, yeah, of course, let's talk about it. Like, yeah, of course, I want to listen to you, you know? Sure. And I do. I think that's the biggest mistake. We as humans, we've learnt to hide. Maybe it's we've learnt to hide our feelings so much. We don't communicate.
Yeah. The world makes you generally harder. And so you put up more walls generally.
Yeah. You think you've got to be like a tough little soldier and not talk about, you know, feeling bad. And I'm like, nah, if I'm feeling shit, I'm going to say it. I'm feeling a bit shit.
The main thing, I guess, is just the right time and the place and with the right person and the intuition to know when it is that right time, place and person. To be vulnerable or to be open or what have you, you know?
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like, I do appreciate, you know, I think, yes, I hope that things are getting better for men to be able to feel they can open up about their feelings. But I do, from, you know, my perspective, I do think there is still some stigma for many men to feel like they can't talk about it. So I think it's important for everybody to be like, look, you know, how was your day? And if they kind of, well, it's kind of that, do you want to talk about it? You know, talk to me about how your day was. Like, you know, are you okay? Like, I think it's allowing that space. Like,
well, that's trust too, isn't it?
Yeah, that's trust. The person, the place, the time, exactly like you say, in being able to be vulnerable and talk about it.
So you're saying the key thing you're saying really is communication is the key
number one.
in terms of, and the mistake is miscommunication.
Yeah. And thinking that the other person can read your mind. They cannot. They cannot.
That's pretty inherent to communication is understanding, is you communicating well? Well, obviously both sides and reciprocity, but also not assuming, I don't know, remembering it's beholden on you to also be clear too. And not just I'm listening to them talk about whatever bollocks they are, and then why can't they read my mind? It's well, no, you need to also open the vent and, let the truth out about however you're feeling.
Yeah.
Or no one's going to fucking know. And also,
no one's going to know.
With entitlement, why would they know?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would people be able to read your mind, whoever this person is? Why would you get that special treatment? It's beholden on everyone to try and be as clear as they can. And again, with age, with this girl I've just met.
Yeah.
I am better at communicating than I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
I'm just calmer and less, just a better communicator all around.
Yeah.
And get less freaked out when things go wrong or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's also, when something can go wrong or not the way you expect, the hair trigger impulse can be to kind of throw your toys out of the pram and storm off or say a whole bunch of dumb shit.
And stuff that you probably don't mean as well.
Yeah, I could feel that impulse rise, and I was like, no, that's useless. And I was just as calm as I could possibly be and as clear as I could possibly be to talk all the way 360 around the problem. Yeah. And then leave it as adult as possible and as adults part ways.
Yeah.
With communication, and not making the mistake I would have made flashing back to 10 years before or flashing back to when I was 15 and much stupider. Of not having a fucking clue in, romantic situations.
Nobody knew, and exactly like you say, I think as we've gotten older, we've become better at communicating. Well, I hope.
Hopefully, that's the thing though, is part of it is do learn from mistakes, right? Don't just, if you have a bad romantic liaison or relationship, don't walk away and think, oh, it's that dickhead's fault. It's no, probably you did some stupid things as well. So try and level up for next time.
Yeah, I do. I totally agree. I'm gonna plug my phone in.
Well, talking of men in particular, this is a problem. How can a man, heterosexual man, generate mystique without looking like a dickhead?
Oh, I mean, when you say without looking like a dickhead, what do you
say I don't know, purposefully kind of fucking pouting and smouldering and looking off mysteriously? That's looking like a dickhead. Look at me, I'm so fucking mysterious and thinking deep thoughts or whatever. Or affectations I don't know, reading fucking Don Juan on an airplane just to look cool and smart.
Rather than actually having any interest.
Yeah, things, just affectations and, over the top gestures that are clearly trying too hard to look either mysterious or cool or aura farming, as they say nowadays.
Do you know what? I don't know, because this, and maybe.
Are you saying it's impossible?
No, I'm sure it is. For me, I don't know if this is something I would be able to answer because I'm very open and very honest and I talk very openly and maybe that is why I'm single, because guys don't actually really like that all the time. But I will just say exactly what I'm thinking, and sometimes that probably doesn't do me any favors. But maybe I've gone too far with open communication. But for me, a kind of level of mysteriousness, sometimes that scares me because in my head I'm thinking, well, what are you hiding? What's the secret? And and that's, I don't think that is, I don't necessarily think that's a good way for me to think, because I don't think everybody should spill all of their secrets straight away. There should be a level of, but I don't know.
It's hard. Obviously, well, it's kind of an abstract question because mystique is obviously abstract. It's fucking pretty intangible. But I mean, I don't know, even say you're very honest and open.
Yeah.
There are still games you play, again, going back to smoke and mirrors, that you will do. One of my favorite questions that I ask people, just in general, excuse me,
Yeah.
is how do you seduce someone? Like, you're just asking anyone, like, because everyone's got tricks they pull, right? And I believe pretty much everyone, apart from people who are sort of more terminally unfuckable, and there are sadly some people out there like that, I think, who just haven't really got anything. But I think most people can be beautiful or seductive or sensual. So it's like, well, all right, then how, outfits and looks and things you say and can be your favorite
Yeah.
perfume or whatever. But there are things you, Georgie, do to get you, when you're getting your game on, to, create mystique around yourself and something
Oh,
formative. But there are things you do, right? Is what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
There are things that
Sam,
everyone fucking does.
I don't know. I honestly, I mean,
All right.
I try. So let's say, because I've got 2 other jobs as well. So I work in a craft beer bar when I'm not flying, and I work in another pub as well. So I meet lots of people, and even sometimes on the plane, actually, if I'm talking and if I'm trying to maybe flirt with somebody,
Sure.
I'm not very good at it. But
Okay.
I generally will just be a little bit chatty. I mean, if I joke about it with my friends when they say, "Oh, how do you flirt with someone?" I'll be like, I just stare at them really intensely and hope that they notice and make the first move. But really,
Just staring.
they
You
think I'm
talk
crazy.
now.
I don't know. I don't know how to flirt. I don't know. But if a guy talks to me, I will always engage in the conversation if I'm attracted to them or not, because I think it comes from just being friendly as well.
Sure.
If somebody is maybe too much or too intense, I might say, "Oh, I'm not interested." If I am interested, I will try to match their kind of level of conversation, I suppose.
Yeah.
So if they're asking me a question, I will always ask them one back. And I hope, again, it comes back with that communication. I hope they'll read my mind and know that
what's in here.
And they'll know that in asking that question back, I'm showing a level of interest.
Showing interest.
I've just completely contradicted myself. I know. Awful. No, I don't know. I don't know. In all honesty, I smile a lot. I think
Smiling's good.
If I fancy somebody, I'll probably smile a lot. Sometimes I go a little bit shy. It's kind of, I guess that, yeah, I don't know if I am mysterious in any way, I guess. I mean, the last guy that I dated, it was me that actually approached him and his group of friends. And, I kind of just went over and I was like, oh, I'm just trying to figure out, because I was in a different country. And I was like, I'm just going to figure out like what you guys are here for. Because it was a country that is, I was in Trinidad actually. And it's not a country known for like big, you don't get stag doos going to Trinidad, and I kind of, this big group of guys, you're a bit like, what are they here for? And there's a lot of oil industry out there. People go out there for work. So you're kind of like, okay. And I kind of went over under the guise of, oh, we're just trying to work out, why you guys are here. But really it was because I thought one of them was quite hot. And I was like, okay, I'm going to just, take this Dutch courage of the 2 cocktails that I've had and go over and talk to them. And it was me that approached him. And he said afterwards, it was your confidence, George, that did it. Like, you came over and you were so confident, because there were like 15 of them. She's like, you were just this little, blonde woman who came over to this group of, 15 guys who were all quite tall and big and muscular. Turns out they were all military. And he was like, it was that confidence that just made me think, yeah, and we dated for a few months, and, he was nice, but ultimately it didn't work out because of the distance. He lives in America, I'm here, in the UK. But yeah, for him, it was the confidence, which I don't often have.
But we all go through, I don't know, phases, moods, what have you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, talking of romance and your experience and all the people you've seen all over the world, have you thought about writing a romance novel? And if so, what would the title be? What would it be about? Any thoughts?
Kind of yes and no. I've never
Okay.
thought about writing a romance novel.
Mm.
But I mean, my blog, I write the blog about dating, about my experiences with dating, about dates I've been on,
Mm.
my experiences with relationships. I've written about, being single over certain holiday periods, like,
Mm.
wedding season, when you hit hardcore wedding season in the summer. And there was one year I had like 7 weddings I had to go to, and I went to them all alone. And, I talk about, how to kind of really get the most out of it and enjoy it being single. Because actually
Sure.
it sucks going to weddings single. And, people will always say, sorry, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but people will always say weddings are a really great place to meet people. They are not, because people always go with a date. They're not a great
Generally,
place
yeah.
to meet single guys and
Mm.
girls. Like, they're not. So anyway, I write advice on stuff like that, how to survive wedding season, how to survive Christmas alone, things like that. And the blog, it grew in popularity. And then I kind of, after I came out of my serious relationship, it died down a bit. I was in a really dark place. I wasn't really enjoying anything, let alone writing. So I kind of stopped, because I was like, it's just getting really sad. And then I started dating again, and I started writing again. And, I've always wanted to turn the blog into a book. I've always wanted to
Right.
piece it together in like a Carrie Bradshaw Sex and the City style, where she pieced together all of her columns.
Mm.
So a romance novel, no, I've never
Okay.
thought about it. But I guess it could be something I did, even if I wrote about, like you say, some of my own experiences of traveling and dating around the world, I could totally write about
Well,
that.
7 weddings in one summer is quite or
Yeah,
7 weddings in a summer as a singleton. Some version of
Yeah.
that's quite a snappy premise and a title for
Yeah.
some kind of
So yeah,
rom-com type book or
seven weddings single, I could call it.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah, that's good.
And yeah, it was, and I did, like, I think what comes with it is you're so happy for all of your friends, and you're so grateful to be a part of their weddings and to be in it. But when it was only a few months before that your longest, kind of most serious relationship ended, and you're now going to all of these weddings single, your friends want you to be really happy for them, but what they forget is you're actually in one of the unhappiest periods of your life, and you're kind of having to like go through it. And I think it is hard. And I had a really good time. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was one wedding, one of them I did loads of shots with the bartender, and I ended up crying, but nobody saw, and I got back out on the dance floor and I was happy. But really, I was, dying underneath it all, because I was gutted. All of my friends were not single and I was there alone. But actually, I look back and I'm like, it was a good year. I had so much fun at all the weddings, even crying aside, but it was good. But yeah, I think, 7 weddings single. But yeah, maybe. I mean,
well, that even if it was just what it could be is this is just us brainstorming now, but it could be 7 weddings single is the title, and then there's a subheading of an education in dating or whatever other kind of snappy subtitle you want to do, and that's the compilation of all your different stories. But the header to draw people in is 7 weddings single.
7 weddings single, yeah.
I see that working.
Yeah. Yeah, for anybody that hasn't read my blog, this is a shameless plug. It's called An Education in Dating.
Yeah,
and
go read it.
Yeah, aneducationindating.com, and it's about me, dating.
Well, for my last question, Georgie, if you could have, going back to travel, I suppose, if you could have your favourite dishes and drinks from everywhere in the world as your 3 meals of the day, which would they be?
Okay, so Mauritius I'd get the Bloody Mary that they do in Mauritius with my breakfast, because they do a really good Bloody Mary in Mauritius. Other countries also do good Bloody Marys, but that one is particularly amazing.
Sure.
But breakfast itself, I remember that we used to, and I'm going back years and years, because the crew don't even stay in that hotel anymore, but we stayed in a hotel that did the best eggs Benedict I've ever had. And the view was also gorgeous, so I would probably maybe have that breakfast, that eggs Benedict with that view in the Bermuda hotel with my Mauritius Bloody Mary.
Lush.
That would be good.
Nice
Now,
way to start the day.
yeah, that's my day started. Now for lunch, might be controversial, but you know the toasty machines?
Yeah.
When we were kids, the toasty makers that make the triangle like hot pockets, and the cheese inside is like lava because it's just a hot pocket of, but it's crispy on the outside, on the edges, and it squeezes them down and like almost creases the edges of the triangle toasty sandwiches.
Yeah.
In the UK, I'd have a cheese and ham toasty in one of those old school toasty machines. I think it's unmatched. I think all the love I've had all around the world, that is the best. A toasty, just a toasty in the UK.
Yeah, they are fucking good.
Yeah, like just, those hot pocket toasties that just burn your inside of your mouth, but they're so good.
What about evening meal then?
Yeah, dinner. Maybe.
Well, also, what would you have to drink with the toasty as a stinger?
A beer, probably a beer.
Something ice cold to burn your vulcanized mouth.
Yeah. Do you know what? Any local Caribbean. Oh, I know what I would have. I'd have a lemon red stripe. So Jamaica.
Nice.
Yeah. You probably had red stripe before. In Jamaica, they do the lemon version, and I guess it's like a pilsner kind of version of it, and they add the lemon into the red stripe. That with my cheese and ham toasty. Oh my, that would be amazing. So good. And then dinner. There's an alcohol theme throughout this. I'm not an alcoholic, but I just,
Well, I said dishes and drinks, and that's more fun anyway.
And you did say, it could be anywhere.
Yeah.
And then dinner, I think there was a restaurant in the centre of Bangkok that I went to where I had it's so boring, I know, a chicken pad thai. But I mean, obviously, pad thai, everybody, knows and loves a chicken pad thai.
But when they're done well, they are fucking amazing.
They're so good. The peanut, the sauce, a good chicken pad thai that I had in a restaurant in the centre of Bangkok. And the cocktail that I would have with dinner is in Trinidad at the hotel. They don't even do it on the menu anymore, but the bartenders still know how to make it. There's a cocktail called a Lover's Exchange.
That's a great name.
So the bottom of it is like rum. It's a white rum mixed with, I think, like a lemon juice. And they shake it up and they put that on the bottom, and then on top of it they layer it, so it actually looks, the colours are all split in the drink, and then on top it's like red wine and a bit more. I mean, it's mad what they've got in it. Hey, so beautiful.
It sounds like trying to encapsulate all of what lovers do in one glass. It's sweet, it's sour, it's crazy.
Yes, exactly.
Fuck.
But it's so good. So that with dinner, I think.
That sounds good and like a fucking good day.
Yeah, that's a pretty good day of eating and drinking.
All right, what would be the midnight snack to really round it off? You could have one cheeky, sinful thing to have right before you go to bed. Could be a sweet thing, dessert. What would you have?
Oh, dessert. I mean, dessert. I like I quite like a good cheesecake. I mean, my favourite. So for my birthday, I love red velvet cake. So I always want a red velvet cake for my birthday.
Fucking lush. Yeah.
Yeah, just so good. But yeah, or some sort of cheesecake. I love a good cheesecake.
We do red velvet cheesecake.
Oh my god! Do you think that's a thing? Yeah, the best of. I wonder if that actually exists. But a red velvet cheesecake. Oh, I mean, if I can create it, a red velvet cheesecake would be the one. Yeah, absolutely.
And then just fucking night, you're dead to the world, and then I guess the same dishes and drinks the next day.
Yeah. Or like yesterday, I was working at the pub yesterday, and of course it was Sunday yesterday, so it was roast. And the chef, we were quite quiet, so the chef had all of this pork belly left, and he cut it up into pieces and really cooked it so like the crackling on the top was really crispy. Sorry to anyone that might be vegetarian or vegan.
I'm definitely not, so I'm loving this.
Yeah, I was like, this sounds awful for them, but he cut them down into these little pork belly bites, and he just served it with like gravy and like just that for a little snack. You know when you're at a wedding and they do like the late night snack, some good crispy pork belly bites with like an applesauce, that banging. That would be good.
Well, great. Thank you, Georgie. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, it's been so good to talk to you. So good to see you.
And crazy to catch up after so long.
I know. Look at us. We're old.
Fuck my voice. And you're on to St. Lucia end of this week, you say?
Yeah, end of this week, going to St. Lucia. Yeah, so a couple of days there.
All right. Well, happy flying. I hope it's, I hope it's incredible out there. As we talked about, you'll probably get there and think, same old fucking St. Lucia.
Same old thing.
I hope it's still magical for you.
It will be. No, I do still love it. I still enjoy it. So. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess not bon voyage. That makes less sense. Is there a thing you guys say in your job? In terms of like happy flying is like
so have a safe flight, no dramas. Yeah.
That's not very cute or sexy though, is it?
No, it isn't. We'd normally just be like, have a safe flight, and you're like, I hope so. All
right. Well. No. Make the most of it. I'll say that.
Yeah, always. Until next time.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Hi, folks. Here's to say a gigantic thank you from me, Caesar, and all the gang to our Night of the Round tier patrons, Arlene O'Hara and Chris Childs. Thank you so much for the support. We'll see you soon for more great content. Thanks again.